1, 0. Ignition, liftoff. Semper Fi, aim high.
You know,
the great Paula had a question because she wanted to get this from you, given your legal expertise and being close to the president on this. This is not a constitutional crisis here. We're taking advantage of the legal process that Al Gore took advantage of in a disputed vote count in 2000. The presidential electors don't meet till December 14th. The grace period is from December 8th to the 14th to figure it out within the states. And even if they can't figure it out, there is still a process within the states to get us to a president, correct? The media keeps making out like this is unprecedented chaos. Well, there is precedent. So unprecedented is a nonsense word here in this case.
Well, yeah, it's just trying to pretend that, this is just somehow some kind of mess that our founders couldn't have possibly contemplated. It's not like they weren't familiar with corruption, right? So I would encourage everyone to read Federalist 68 by Alexander Hamilton, and it talks about the mode of appointment of the United States president. And he talks about why in promoting the ratification and the adoption of the U.S. Constitution, which included at the time, we've had amendments, but including at the time Article 2, which includes the Electoral College and gives to the states, the state legislatures, importantly, not just any actor on behalf of the state legislatures determine the manner by which the electors are appointed so that we have these safeguards in place in case of corruption or foreign influence. And Hamilton specifically talks about how it's so incredibly important to prevent against corruption in the mode of appointing our president. And that's why we have the Electoral College, to make sure that there isn't that kind of influence, because he was saying, wouldn't it be the creature that the foreign actors want to appoint as our chief magistrate to get influence into our United States of America? So even back at the adoption of the U.S. Constitution, they contemplated this. We have processes. It's only been 8 days since the election. We're uncovering a lot of stuff, fraud, irregularities.
Exactly.
Why?
Everybody needs to calm down. It's been 8 days. The media, everybody needs to relax on the media side. We're good over here on the Trump side. I'm not worried about violence from conservatives ever. That's a leftist phenomenon. And what they're doing is it's one of these transference things where they're transferring their impulses onto us. Everything's okay. But I love the constitutional process and I find it fascinating, but let's ground it in real world right now. So let's say the Trump legal team, the campaign apparatus uncovers massive fraud in Pennsylvania, potentially enough. And I'm going to ask again, Mayor Giuliani, about Pennsylvania as well, where there seems to be a lot of shenanigans, so to say, enough that could potentially change the vote in the election. We produce these affidavits, eyewitnesses. So what would happen in the state of Pennsylvania if by December 8th, they legitimately can't figure out who won the state of Pennsylvania? Well, what happens there?
Yeah, so in that eventuality, which is entirely possible given all kinds of things going on in Pennsylvania, if the election results are irredeemably compromised, we can't determine who is the victor legitimately, then there are a couple of ways that this could go. The most likely outcome is if a judge looking at this cannot fashion a remedy, which means, the judicial branch wants to make sure that they're not just overturning election results when they don't have to. If they can fashion a remedy that would preserve the integrity of the election and get to a legitimate outcome, they'll do that. But if they can't, then the Constitution provides that the state legislature, because they are representatives of the people of Pennsylvania, that electorate, then the way to enfranchise them, not disenfranchise them, make sure that they are enfranchised, is to say that then the state legislature can get together and can appoint and select the electors. That's one possibility. And the court could direct the legislature to provide that legislative remedy. There is, and if this becomes more widespread than Pennsylvania, and there isn't a determined winner by January 20th, then the Constitution also provides that the U.S. House of Representatives then can determine who the next president will be. And that's important because it isn't just, it isn't every legislator, every representative at that point they get to vote. It's by It's by state. And so we have actually more Republicans in terms of the control of how that works constitutionally, in terms of how the House count would work under the Constitution. So if we get to the point where nobody gets 270, or we get to a point of irredeemable compromise on a large variety of states, then the House of Representatives could intervene at that point. So
okay, so let's walk through this. So I want to go step by step. So let's say, for example, again, the evidence comes out that the Pennsylvania vote is compromised, that there was fraud they can't account for. I was asked before the show again by the legendary Paula, like, how do you prove fraud? I mean, if you have a bunch of affidavits that say ballots were changed, and there's no way to see, and there's no way to see, in fact, the change in the ballot because it was already processed and it was destroyed, you have to go by these affidavits, these sworn affidavits. That's all you have. I mean, it happens all the time in crimes. There's an eyewitness. I saw him rob a bank. Did anyone else see it? No, it's just me. So if it's compromised, the Pennsylvania state legislature, there by December 8th, there's a safe harbor. I think it's December 8th to December 14th, where the state legislature has to make a decision about how to direct their 22 presidential electors. If that doesn't happen by then, you're saying then the House of Representatives gets together and the Pennsylvania state delegation, which is, I believe, 20 members, and there are more Republicans, I believe, in Pennsylvania than Democrats, gets one vote, right? So Pennsylvania, their congressmen and women get one collective vote. You assume the Republicans vote Republican, the Democrats vote Democrat. Then that presidential vote for the state of Pennsylvania would go to Donald Trump. Am I getting that right?
Exactly. Yes. And that would happen in that collective scenario where each state gets one vote. Then that would happen in the instance that there is no determined winner at all throughout the whole United States. So, for example, if at the end of the day we're still only dealing with states that Joe Biden still is at 270, and those states are certified, but Pennsylvania, they're irredeemably compromised, and at that point it's not outcome determinative because he still has enough electoral votes. But this is where it matters because we're dealing with at least 6 states right now, and so I think that the map that shows that currently removing those 6 states from the count, neither President Trump or Joe Biden is at the 270 mark without those states being certified and actually knowing the legitimate results in those states. So that's where then it would go to the House of Representatives if neither candidate gets to 270.